Just a second.
I think Sauraj has joined as well.
Yes.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone.
Just let me know once it's visible.
Yeah, Ayush, we can see the screen. Apologies for the delay.
Okay, over to you, Sauraj.
Problem.
Okay, great. So I'm sure Sameer has already welcomed you, but welcome to the call again. And very excited to have like a big team to go climb Kili. So we've got Ayush to project some details on his screen. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to since Amir has already done the introduction, right away get into some details. And of course, the idea is to open it for question and answers at a later stage, right? So this is what our target is. The board you can see in this picture, it's a very iconic, symbolic board right on the top of Africa, literally. The good thing is that, this kind of stays with all the heavy winds is as well. You will have an opportunity to take a picture here, which is kind of proof that you were there. Unlike some of the other mountains that you're there on top and then that's it. So what I'm going to do is I'll just quickly take you through the itinerary, even though all of you are much aware of it, but probably just spend 2 to 3 minutes taking you through the details of how our day one onwards is going to look like. So here, of course, we're going to talk of day one as 5th of July for all practical purposes because 5th of July essentially, Ayush, you can go move on to the next slide. You can move on to day one. We'll come back to this later. Yeah, so 5th of July is what our day one would be. So day one, day two is pretty much going to be the logistics, people coming in, traveling, checking in and stuff, which is primarily day one. Day two is a little important. Day two, which will for us be the 6th of July, will essentially be about meeting the team, more importantly, meeting the guides as well, doing an equipment check on our end. If you need anything from the town of Arusha, there are no fancy trekking or climbing gear shops like you have in Nepal or in Ladakh as well. But here, at least, there are a couple of shops which have some basic gear which can either be bought or can be rented out. So from that perspective, if you feel that you have missed out on something and you need to pick it up, then you can get it from Arusha. But I would say that it can't be your first choice. A lot of you have trekked with us to Nepal and to Ladakh, and the kind of equipment, gear, jackets that you have available there, we often recommend to people that you should shop from Nepal or Ladakh. In this case, it is the opposite, I would say. So in this case, pack everything that you have that you need. And in case you forget something, we can pick it up in Arusha. But also more importantly, we will spend this day doing a team briefing. At some part of the afternoon or the evening, we'll be doing a team briefing where we'll um tell you about the plan for the further days, introduce you to the team and stuff like that. So that's about day one, day two. Uh, Day three will technically be our first day of the trek, right? So if you look at day three, that's when in the morning, we will make our drive to the famous Machame Gate. At Machame Gate, it does take a little bit of time for the formalities for the national park. And I'll be honest with you, this is going to be a busy time because June, July, August are the best months to climb Kilimanjaro. Also, some part of this will coincide with the Independence Day in the US. So they have certain holidays. So you end up seeing a lot more American groups in these 2 weeks as well. But that's also because the weather is good and it's a good time to summit. So at the gate, there will be a lot of other groups. Typically, we budget for about an hour and a half once we reach the Machame gate. So, what do we do for that 1.5 hour? nothing much. We, get a coffee, drink some water. We'll organize some snacks as well, take some nice pictures, get to know the team better. Then we
Isn't
start
this similar
hiking
to,
from.
sorry,
Yes, Preeta.
isn't this
Go ahead,
similar to
please.
the one we did in base camp, the Sagarmatha National Park? I mean, I'm trying to connect the day.
In
Like,
in what sense? Like in sense of entering the national park, you mean,
yes,
or
yes, yes. Entrance of
yes,
the national park and the
but
terrain,
it
because it looks similar to that forest.
yeah, but this is when you enter the Sagarmatha National Park, that's typically day two of our trek at Everest Base Camp. Here,
Yeah.
this is just the roadhead. When we get to the Machame
Mm.
Gate, we get there by bus, and then we get off. And of course, the waiting time is much longer. But yes, you're right. Conceptually, we are entering the national park, so there is a checkpoint, and of course, the formalities do take a longer time. So yes, in that sense, what you're saying is right. Of course, then day one is about making our way up through a steep rainforest, I would say, and getting to Machame camp. And of course, day four would be getting from Machame camp to Shira. So this is just a snapshot of the itinerary. What I'm doing is I'm not getting into the details of it because of interest of time. Of course, with for the details of it, we can always send it to you, or it's there on our website, and we'll request you all to kind of spend 10 minutes reading about it as well. So that's day three and four. Day five and six, it's interesting because we come above the vegetation, and as you see, suddenly the entire landscape has shifted. We are now in a cold desert. There is no green. The first 2 days there's a lot of like greenery around us in terms of the forests of Africa, but day five becomes critical. That's the day we go up to this feature called the lava tower. So we what we do is we follow that very classic principle of trekking. You climb high and you sleep low. So what we do is we go up from the Shira campsite all the way to Lava Tower, which is as high as 4,600 meters, and then we drop down to about 3,900 odd meters. So we are climbing up about 6 to 700, actually 700 meters. We are climbing up. We're spending about an hour and a half at Lava Tower, acclimatizing to our high altitude, and then we're dropping down to the Bronco campsite, and we're sleeping at 3-9. So it acts as a really good acclimatization day, right? That's our day five. Day six, we proceed to the Karanga campsite from Bronco, which is one of the relatively shorter and easier days, I would say. Even though some of you may have heard about the famous Bronco Wall, which is a rock wall, and there are enough articles and videos about it. Comes across as a very intimidating rock wall, but trust me, it's one of the most fun features that you will experience on Kilimanjaro. It's very short, it's not scary, it's very easy to do. There is no technical climbing involved, there are no ropes that are required to climb. Yes, there is a little bit of scrambling on the rocks. There are one or two smaller sections where you're using both your hands, so you're all fours, in terms of the support. But it's a lot of fun and it is safe, and we will have a lot of staff around as well. So that's the day which we cross the famous Bronco Wall, go up the Bronco Wall, and then slowly make our way to the Karanga campsite. So that's going to be day six. Day seven is when we finally reach our summit camp, right? Summit camp is nothing but the place we refer to from where we launch ourselves for the summit of Kilimanjaro. So, of course, then talking about the summit day, we make our way either from Barafu or from Kosovo towards the summit of Kilimanjaro, which is going to be day eight. As you all know that the idea of the summit day is to start somewhere the middle of the night. It's depending on the speed of the group, of course, depending on the weather conditions as well. We would be looking at starting somewhere between 11 and 12 in the night, I would say, or could be even later as well. And by about 7:30, 8 in the morning is when we expect to reach this point, right, which is the roof of Africa, the summit of Kilimanjaro. That's what we all aspire for. So that's the day 8 of our itinerary, which is a summit day. This day is very long in particular because you're starting your journey at midnight, going up to the summit. You're coming back to the Kosovo camp or the Barafu camp, one of the two. But then also the same day, we are walking down as well. We are walking down to the Maveka camp, which is an additional 2.5 hours. So, to give you a perspective, you may start at midnight. By the time you finish this day, it'll be about 6 in the evening. So, you're actually on the move for about 12 and 6, about 18 hours, I would say. Of course, this does not mean that you're walking for 18 hours straight, right? But this does mean a summit push. Then you take pictures of the summit. Then you come back to the Barafu camp. We take a good 1.5 2 hour break there. We pack our bags. We spend some time in the dining tent. We eat something. And then the last leg of 2.5 hours. So it's the day is well broken into in terms of enough breaks, enough stops and rests. But yes, it's a long day, and we often tell people that whatever preparation you're doing, right, it's essentially it does come down to this one summit day. All of you have trekking experience. Most of you who are trekking with us have uh, trekked with us before as well, and we've seen you trekking. But the summit day is something that we, of course, will talk about much in detail slightly later in the call as to how is it that you prepare for it, right?
Sauraj, the summit day timing, does it vary depending on the camp? Because now you told that the Barafa camp we'll be leaving around 11, 12 or something. Does this change if we shift to Kosovo? Because yeah.
Honestly, Preeta, from Barafu, one has to even look at leaving by about 10, 10:30 as well. But yes, it changes. The time for which we leave for the summit can vary as early as 10:30 and as late as 1:30 also.
Okay.
So it's a window between 10:30 to 1:30, which I said completely depends on the average speed of the group, and it also depends on the weather conditions. So,
Okay.
what time are we exactly leaving for the summit is something that we will be able to decide only after the first 2 3 days of the trek, as to how people are doing, how the weather is looking. It may happen that we decide to go by 11:30 in the night, and we get out and the weather is really bad. It's snowing, the winds are high, the visibility is low. We may just decide to stall it by 3 hours and only leave by like 2:30 in the morning. So those possibilities are also there because we are operating above 5,000 meters. So even though we do check the weather reports, but sometimes the weather is can be very localized, and the weather conditions can change very fast above 5,000 meters, especially with the winds coming in.
How bad has it
So
got in the past in terms of weather? Like from your
Uh, we've
experience?
we've had some windy nights on the summit. I won't deny. We've had some groups where we've taken them to the summit on some very windy conditions. What I mean by that is winds probably in the range of 30 to 40 kilometers an hour, and temperatures then going down to about -12, -14 as well. But it's one off. I would say maybe every 5 groups, maybe one group may experience that. We've had groups where we've had to use no crampons at all. We've had groups where we've had to use crampons from halfway as well. So it's very localized weather. Whether we need crampons or not, for now, the answer for that is no. And why I say that is that we don't need you to buy or rent crampons or carry crampons all the way from India. We will see the weather conditions on the mountain about 10 days before. We will take some feedback. We have another group which is going before you as well. We'll take feedback from them, and then we can always look at hiring the basic chain crampons from Arusha only. So that's easy to do because then we can just get the staff to carry it also all the way to the summit camp. You don't have to carry it, and then we bring it down also. So, do you need to carry or pack crampons from India? The answer to that is no. Ayush, can I request you to move on to the next slide? Okay, so day 9 and 10, of course, is about coming down. It's very interesting because on Kilimanjaro, you take about 6 days to go up, but you only take 1 day to come down. That's very fascinating because, you literally climb from the other side of the mountain. And while coming down, you're taking a completely different side of the mountain that you've never seen, which also means that while going up, while climbing up, you don't have any traffic in the sense that you don't have any people who are coming from the opposite direction. So everybody is going up in one way. So that way, it's a very well managed mountain, I would say. And then while coming down, everybody is going in the same direction. So that's day 9 for us when we get to the gate of the national park again. And then, of course, the next day we have departures, right? So, in fact, what we'll do is that the entire itinerary that we just spoke about, we actually have a little small video. It's a 3D video of how this mountain looks like. So I'll just request Ayush to play that, and that'll give you a really good sense. So yeah, Ayush, you can start. So essentially, we will look at starting our journey from Arusha, right? And of course, we get into the Machame Gate. That's our starting point. And from Machame Gate, if you see this red line going up, Ayush, can you pause? Uh, okay, great. So if you look at the screen properly right now, the there's a camp called the Machame Camp, which is literally on the edge of the forest. It's a very there are two shades of green essentially. So where the word Machame Camp is written, it's kind of dark green, and just above that, it's kind of light green. So our first camp, the Machame Camp, is under a dense forest, and then of course, as we go higher up, Ayush, you can continue to play the video. We go to our second camp, which is essentially the Shira camp or the Shira plateau as they call it, which you can clearly see. And then from Shira plateau, if you remember, I was talking about this feature called the Lava Tower. So we go towards the Lava Tower, which is actually just under the summit of Kilimanjaro. In fact, when we are having lunch at Lava Tower on day 3, you're just right under the summit, as you can see in this simulation as well. And it really feels like if I'm having lunch here, why can't I just take like 6 hours, go summit and come back? But that's not really the case because we need to acclimatize because we're going to go touch almost 6,000 meters. So this map is really interesting because if you see it, it gives us a direction of how we are literally going around the mountain in a way. So from Lava Tower, we are actually circumventing the mountain. We are coming down to the Boronco campsite. Then we're going up to the Boronco wall, again circumventing the mountain completely, going up towards Karanga, the campsite. From Karanga, we are of course climbing up to Barafu. I'll just let the video play a little bit so we kind of catch up on the Boronco campsite. Yeah, the Karanga camp. That's how you just let it play only. Yeah. And then you can see the summit climb all the way from Barafu to this place called the Stella Point. And then from Stella Point is where you get to this Uhuru Peak, right? So that's a little route of what we are really going to follow as well in terms of our uh, climb or our trek. Okay, I'm just gonna quickly talk about the gear, and then we'll of course open it up for questions and answers. So the summit night, of course, can get cold. Aish, we can skip this. You can go on to the gear, to the layering bit. So of course, it does get a little cold, and we highly recommend that you focus on the packing.
The wind is about 30
Sorry, can I
kilometers
just
per
request
hour
you to be
and
on
it goes
mute?
to minus 12. That's
Okay. So I was saying that, especially on the summit night and a couple of nights before that as well, especially when we are at the Boronco campsite, Boronco, Karanga, and of course the summit night can get very cold. So these are the kind of layers that we recommend, which most of you may have. But rather than getting one really thick jacket, which won't really serve the purpose, we recommend that you have these layers, which are essentially about having a thermal base layer, then of course your t-shirt on it, a good fleece, a good down, and a good waterproof. The top five items mentioned or the apparels mentioned, I would say, they aren't optional. They are a must have in your bag, because depending on the weather conditions of the day, you would either be wearing some of them, or for all you know, on the summit night, you may be even wearing all of them. But what is important is that because you are layering up, you will be able to take these layers off or on as and when required. So, if you have any more questions about this, of course, we have a WhatsApp group as well, and some of you have been posting questions also, which is a good thing. But these apparels are absolutely a must have. Of course, we also need to protect the extremities. So, in terms of, a woolen cap, a buff, and gloves, good quality socks. These are things which also will be very, very important, right? So, we will send you this list also. Um, the accommodation, Ayush, if you can just go back 3, 4 slides, the accommodation is going to be all camping. These are some photos of how the campsites look like. So it's a very classic camping trek, wherein you would typically have a setup of just a mattress and a sleeping bag in your tent. There'll be a ground sheet, a mattress, and the sleeping bag. On the left, you can see a little picture of the dining tent as well, where like some people are sitting in dining. So we'll have a proper dining tent setup where you would have tables and chairs. That's where most of us will end up spending a lot of our time. Having our meals, tea, coffee, breakfast, and of course playing a lot of Uno as well. So I don't know who's taking responsibility of carrying Uno, but we'll assign that person soon. Okay, so
Sauraj, you broke off there.
You're on mute, Sauraj.
yeah, I was saying that we just need to kind of go over the details of one more important point, because there has been some discussion about it on the group, which is about the Kosovo camp. Right now, what is this Kosovo camp, and why is it that it has come into the picture? So, as most of you, I think, already know, because it's been discussed on the group, the summit camp usually on Kilimanjaro is the Barafu camp, and I would say 8 out of 10 teams um launch themselves for the summit from the Barafu camp, right? Is there a problem with it? No, not really. And that's honestly the regular itinerary that most companies would follow. For us, because we've been working on the mountain for many years, almost 12 years on Kilimanjaro now, with our overall experience, we've kind of learned to uh, increase the probability of safety and success both. And that's what we want on this expedition as well. So, there is this camp which is about an hour and a half ahead of the Barafu camp, which is called the Kosovo camp, and it is en route to the summit of Kilimanjaro. Um, there is camping is not really allowed at the Kosovo camp, because it's a very restricted area, and you would literally see that if there are like 200 people at Barafu, there are 20 people at Kosovo. There are two reasons for that. One, of course, that it's restricted and it's expensive. But what does this do? This essentially increases our chances of getting to the summit, because one, you have like a head start on other climbers, and two, you are about an hour and a half closer to the summit while going, and also about an hour and a half while coming down, which essentially means that you're using or you're conserving that much more energy.
Now I'm
Uh,
audible.
when you are also going to sleep in the night before the summit night, you're getting more rest, because you are at Kosovo. There is less disturbance, there are less people around. So these are some of the factors which contribute to Kosovo. Most of our groups, we try and recommend that they look at Kosovo especially when we do school groups, we do a lot of groups with children on Kilimanjaro as well. We ensure that the kids are staying at Kosovo because then they have a better chance to go to the summit and to come back. So this is more I would say an exclusive option. Like a lot of people that you may meet on the trail on Kilimanjaro may not even know Kosovo. Like if you ask them, are you going to Barafu or Kosovo? They'll be like, oh, what is Kosovo? Like we don't even know. But honestly, this is all the experience that we bring on the mountain. And that's why we've been able to open up this Kosovo option because, we convinced the national park that, listen, our team will camp at Kosovo. We, of course, have to pay them a legal fee. It's funny because beyond paying them a legal fee, we also have to pay them a little more to grease palms. But it's usually not a challenge because we are well connected in the national park. But I know that a lot of you have already expressed interest that, of course, that if it is for better chances of success and safety on the summit, then you don't mind coming on the Kosovo, like you don't mind spending extra to stay on the Kosovo camp. And we've already made a note of whosoever is expressed interest. But one thing that we need to know is that, of course, we are this one big team, and we would need everybody to agree to stay at the Kosovo camp. So what we're going to do is that after this call, we're going to send out a survey or a poll uh, to all of you, and without any pressure, you can just let us know your preference, and by Monday or Tuesday we'll let you know what the preference of the group is, and then accordingly we'll take a call whether we are camping at Kosovo or not. But please understand that this is of course an added advantage, but that this doesn't mean that it affects the trek or the expedition in any way. As I said, 8 out of 10 teams launch themselves from Barafu. So if we end up doing that, all we are doing is we're just following the normal itinerary, right? So it's not that big a deal if someone doesn't want to go to Kosovo. Uh, so, as I said, rather than talking about it, we'll just send out a poll on the group, and then we'll let you know as to how we can proceed with this. All right. On that note, sorry, enough of a monologue for the last 20 minutes, and we would just open it up to questions and answers. So, if you have any questions, please go ahead and ask.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt, Raj. Before we kick off the questions, the meeting may end in a few seconds, so just log back in with the same link, and we'll kick off the questions on the following call. It's the same link.
Okay, great.
Yeah, you can probably drop
Yeah,
off
okay.
now.
Hi, folks. Welcome back to the call. All right, so we can open it up for Q&A. So please go ahead and ask whatever questions you have. We'll be happy to answer.
Hey, Sauraj.
Hi, Hima. Welcome
Hi.
back from Everest Base Camp.
Thank you so much. So, regarding the water, the drinking water, what kind of arrangement do we have?
So, Hema, for drinking water, what we have is that every time we reach a campsite, there either is a stream or a river or a pond. Water sources can vary. So, the set of porters go with big cans of 5, 5, 10, 10 liters, and they fill up about 50 to 100 liters at one shot. They bring it back. So, the kitchen boils the water, and then we add water purification drops to the water, and then it is safe to drink. Unfortunately, there is no other option also on the mountain because unlike of course Nepal, there's no civilization, and you've been there and you've seen it for yourself. So that's what we do for water.
Okay. Thank you. No, especially asking this question because we just went through that on the EBC trek. The water
Correct. So
problem.
also, you have this. You have a bottle with a filter. I'm forgetting the name.
Brita.
Somebody may have.
Nalgene bottles.
No, Nalgene is a
No,
regular
Brita.
one. The one with the
Brita.
There's actually
there are
Brita
multiple
has
bottles you
a
brands.
get.
There's multiple brands, but it's basically like a smart bottle. It has a filter on top.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a life straw or something.
Life straw. That's the word I was
Yeah.
looking for. That's right, Preeta. Sorry, not an Nalgene, but a life straw. It's called a life
Life
straw as
straw.
a brand. It's a good one. Hema, you can look it up online as well. A life straw, and maybe Tanush can carry a life straw as well, because that after we boil it and we put water purification drops, it'll act as one more level of filtration if he's drinking through a live straw. I've used it in the past as well, and it's quite good.
So
Okay, that
basically,
sounds good.
we have auto lift from point A to point B, nothing in between.
That's absolutely right, Preeta.
Okay.
Unlike Everest Base Camp, again, where we tell people that, okay, you can just fill 1.5 liters and you will have access to water every 1 hour or 2 hours. Here, we all should budget to carry or to be able to carry
To
at
carry
least 2
4
liters,
liters.
if not 2.5. And sometimes, if it's a longer day, we'll also tell you to kind of ration your water so that you don't gulp down a lot of water right in the beginning. But again, it's the same thing. Essentially, when you get up in the morning, you try and finish about a liter, so your body's feeling hydrated. You're literally that camel now that has stored water. On the way, you budget for about 2.5. And then once you reach the campsite, of course, you spend the 2-3 hours of the evening, let's say from 3 to 6, just hydrating, and then you're okay with that.
What's the bathroom situation like along the track, like between camps?
So Rohit, between the camps, honestly, there is nothing which is really available. So it's like a proper trekking expedition where it's just all like behind the rock or behind the bush. There are no bathrooms or like any facilities which are available as such. So you're roughing it out in the true sense.
Not permit certain things like wet wipes or whatever it is, like certain things banned from from being brought onto the track.
No, not really. Nothing is banned, but we of course have a good garbage collection system. So everything, anyways, Kilimanjaro National Park is extremely strict in terms of their pollution control. So everything is carried back. So while on the trek, if you're carrying a packet of wet wipes, we also recommend that you carry a very good quality Ziploc bag to dispose them off
Got it.
within your bag as well. And then when you reach the campsite, you can put it in the larger garbage disposal.
Got it.
But as such, nothing is banned. In fact, the national park, the rangers are so strict that this is just for information, that every morning when the trekkers leave and the staff, there's a assigned base camp manager, and when they're packing up the camp, they have to go report to the ranger saying that we've packed up the camp. The ranger then comes to the physical point of where our camp was, because sometimes the ranger site can be 5 minutes away. They check everything, they make a permit, and you have to show that permit at the next campsite. Only then are you allowed to pitch your camp at the next location. So it is very clean that way as a mountain, and it's really good, that they implement and practice these procedures from camp to pack in terms of cleanliness and like the garbage disposal and stuff like that.
Good to know.
This is
Sauraj, another question. What is the weight limit for the porter?
So the weight limit for the porter is about 14 kgs, Hema. 14 kgs is what, up to 14 kgs is what a porter will carry. And about whatever you have in your day pack is what you have. Okay, great. What other questions do we have? Sorry, Hema, you're on mute.
And the food is basically vegetarian, non-vegetarian, both options?
Yes, we have all options. As we discussed some of this on the group as well, there will be an option of chicken, eggs, completely vegetarian as well. So, of course, in the coming week, what we'll also do is we will reach out to you for your dietary preferences or restrictions, and then accordingly cater for that. Because, unlike Nepal, of course, this is a completely camping trek. So, we will have our own kitchen and our own chef. So,
but you
he will prepare.
you wouldn't recommend a non-veg diet on the trail, right? Because of the usual digestive issues up in the altitude.
That's partially correct, Preeta. Yes, we do tell people that try and stick to vegetarian diet, but it's Africa, so they first 1 or 2 days they may even prepare some chicken dishes, so to say. But of course, looking at the pattern of the group, if somebody is doing absolutely fine and is enjoying it, then we get them to still continue to make it in a smaller quantity if 2 3 people want to have it. But otherwise, yes, after day 3 typically we recommend that just stick to vegetarian food. It's a lot like continental food, so they will have vegetables, but they won't have vegetables the way we will cook, which is with like masala and ghee and oil. They'll have like sorted vegetables, for example. They'll
Okay.
have like fruit salad and stuff like that. They'll have
Yeah.
pasta and pasta sauce. They'll have like, let's say, fried rice and some kind of a green curry and vegetables separately and stuff like that. They'll have a lot of french fries. Of course, there'll be soup. So these are the kind of meals you get. So it won't be the Indian palate, the taste, but the food is the same. The preparation is slightly different.
So,
All right.
Sauraj, a quick question: while the mountain has its own weather, but what is it like in Arusha at this point of time? What's the weather like?
Arusha, Rupesh, I will have to honestly just check, but I think Arusha at this point of time will be very pleasant. I think it'll be in the range of 18 to 22, 23 degrees. That's what my guess is. So, you may even need like a light jacket of sorts in the evening. But it won't be like very cold or something. It'll be like city weather, but more on the pleasant side, I would say. Not like very hot, like how we are experiencing some parts of India already now. It won't be like that. It'll be very pleasant. But I'll just check on this as well, and I'll get back to you.
Thanks.
And
And you
Sauraj,
did mention, so just to follow up on that, you did mention that we can leave some luggage behind in Arusha before climbing, so you don't have to worry about carrying everything with boat, right?
Absolutely. That's absolutely right. We, in fact, recommend that you carry either a small foldable bag or a overnighter suitcase, or, whatever you have in which you can leave some stuff behind. If you are not leaving any major valuables, which we recommend that you don't, if it's only shoes and clothes and stuff, then honestly, you don't even need to lock it. You're fine. But of course, if you're leaving some valuables, then you lock your bag and you hand it over to the cloakroom in Arusha in the hotel, and of course, carry only what is very essential on the mountain.
Sauraj, on that, so a laptop, camera, is that okay to leave behind? Once we lock it up and stuff, it's okay to leave it behind?
Yes, Nishit. If you lock it up, you can leave it behind, or honestly, we can even keep it in our office in Arusha. It's not a problem. Yeah.
and Sauraj, would you be doing the oxygen check every evening, and if need be, starting on Diamox?
Hema, we would honestly be doing an oxygen check, I would say, depending on the symptoms.
Okay.
If we see that there is somebody who's even showing the slightest of the symptoms relating to AMS, we will of course check their oxygen. Um, and if somebody wants that it should be checked for them, we will do that as well. Because if there are no symptoms at all, then really, like, no news is good news. So you continue, and we will have a big team. I will personally be there, and we will keep monitoring people. And as you also know, loss of appetite is one of the biggest signs. Nausea is one of the biggest signs. Headache. So if somebody is complaining of these things, of course we will check the oxygen levels. We'll be carrying it with us. We will have an oxygen cylinder also that we carry with us. So nothing to worry at all.
Thanks.
When does the weather really start to change between camps? Like, so we know what to pack for the day and everything.
So Rohit, we will be doing a daily briefing every day in the
Okay.
evening while you're having dinner. We'll be spending at least 10 minutes talking about the next day, both in
Okay.
terms of the route and in terms of the weather. So that
Got it.
evening, we'll tell you that, okay, for tomorrow, keep an extra fleece. For tomorrow,
Oh,
this
got
is
it,
the
got
day
it,
you
got it.
need to add your thermal layer. So every day in the evening, we'll be briefing you for the next day so you know what to pack in your day pack and stuff like that.
Okay, that sounds good. Thanks.
Sauraj, I had a question from Zeal.
Yes.
Because she was not attending the meeting, so she asked me to ask you. She has the down jacket and the layering from the base camp, what she used. It's estimated to withstand around -5 degrees. I think it's a Columbia Omni heat one. So she was asking, will that suffice for the summit night? Or does she need to get something more heavy?
That will suffice for the summit night,
So it'll
Preeta. That will
suffice.
suffice for the summit night with all the layers that we mentioned.
Yes.
So, of course, if she's using a good quality inner thermal, a good quality fleece, and of course, like a thick t-shirt and then the down, then yes, it's fine. Because I also use the same. For Kilimanjaro, I use a Columbia Omni Heat,
Omni heat,
and
yeah.
that works well. It's not a problem.
And should we pack she and me, both of us have the snow pant, which, it's for extreme cold. So do we need that for the summit night as well?
Not really, Preeta, in the sense that you need it, but it's very tricky. I'll tell you why. Because when you're coming down, you will melt in those. So what we do recommend is that you wear a thermal and you wear a regular trekking trousers on your thermal. So you have at least layered up, and in an extreme situation, you can still go behind a rock and try and change. But if you're wearing only one really thick pant, then it's a problem because then you have no option. So, like for the upper body, the same thing we recommend for the lower body as well, that wear two layers, but don't have this one really thick pant. So I would say avoid the ski pants. You don't really need it.
Okay.
I had another question regarding the Kosovo camp. Assume there's like 15 of us, and if 14 of us are ready to go to the camp, but one isn't agreeing, do the rest also not go? How does that work?
Rohit, yes, more or less. That's a tricky question. It has to be like a team decision. And I'll tell you the challenge for that. The challenge is that we have only one big kitchen setup.
Got it.
If we move the kitchen to Kosovo, then what happens to the person in Barafu? If we keep the kitchen in Barafu, then what happens to the person in
Got it.
Kosovo, and so on and so forth. So don't worry. Of course, we'll take a poll on this, and very soon, in the next 2 to 3 days, we'll get back to you with what the final decision is about Kosovo.
Yeah, thanks.
Okay. Any more questions?
So, Raj, the camps for the night, are the sleeping mats that the porters are carrying enough, or would you recommend us carrying any inflatables? Thoughts?
Rupesh, I think what the porters are carrying honestly is enough. You don't really need to carry an extra inflatable. We will be carrying the sleeping mats and the sleeping bags, and they are enough.
Great. And what's the porta potty scene at the camps?
So in the camps we have these portable Western commode toilets, which I would say are very similar to what you use in an aircraft. Because they're very narrow, small sized ones. Of course, not the ones that we may have at home or in the hotels. So very narrow, small sized one, but they are Western commodes, and they basically have like the outer is a tent, right? It's not a hard cabin. So because there are toilets, so we will be using them, maintaining them, installing them and uninstalling them every day. So when we reach camp, our team will already establish the toilets. Of course, you would use them, and then they clean it every 4 hours. In the morning, they empty it out, they wash it, they pack it, and then they carry it to the next camp. So that is what the toilet system would be. Next to that, there'll be a little wash basin area to kind of wash your hands and stuff like that, and that's the kind of setup we have. Of course, there's no concept of a shower.
Sounds great. Thanks.
Okay. Any more questions that we have? If not, because then I have just one point that I want to cover, because I know we are well past time as well. The point that I really want to cover is the physical fitness preparation, because logistics are good, and we've already discussed those logistics either on the group or with some of you individually as well. And we assure you that, we will take care of the logistics as well. But I want to specifically stress upon the part that how the next 1 month, starting tomorrow till the 1st of July, will be extremely critical for your preparation. So, give it your 120%, because I'll be honest, the summit night is hard. It's not very easy. When it comes to just the trek up to Barafu or Kosovo and back, I'm not worried, because we know most of you personally and you've trekked with us, and we know your fitness levels and your endurance levels. But for the summit night, a little extra is definitely required. That's when you end up enjoying the summit night and not struggling on the summit night. Whatever you're doing, I would say increase the time or the intensity by 20%. You know, if you're already doing it on a regular basis, great. Otherwise, do commit to at least 5 days of some or the other cardio activity in a week. Most importantly, uh, try and get out of that comfort zone. If you're doing 30 minutes of treadmill, for example, simple example, do it for 35 or 40 minutes. If you have not started climbing staircases, then start. If you're already climbing staircases, let's say you're doing 10 floors into 3 times, for example, do 10 floors into 4 times, 5 times. So the next 1 month is really the time to kind of get out of your comfort zone. If any of you is working out with a trainer, then please go on Monday and tell the trainer that, listen, whatever you were doing with me, increase it by 15 to 20%, because that extra bit is what we need for the summit night. So, of course, all of you have committed to something very big, and I know that you're already working out. But the next 1 month, just push yourselves a little more, and that will be very, very helpful. That's the only
I'm
point
so
I wanted to cover.
yeah, I'm so glad my trainer's not on this call because they're already conspiring to kill me.
Good. That's much required.
So, how do you compare maybe the summit night to or summit day to, let's say, the one at EBC?
So, Nishit, in terms of time, only in terms of time, I would say it's the same, because if you're going from Labuche to Gorakshep onwards to Everest Base Camp and coming back to Gorakshep, for most groups, we budget for about 10 hours of like walking. But in terms of altitude, I would say altitude and intensity both. I would say the degree of difficulty is double. Because we are going almost up to 5,900 meters. At EBC we are barely going 5,300. So 600 meters may not sound like a lot, but trust me, the difficulty level increases exponentially with every 200 meters above 5,000 meters, right? Um, so both in terms of the altitude and the intensity, I would say it's doubly harder, the summit night, because it's steep. When we start from Kosovo camp, we are at an angle of about 40 to 60% gradient at times, and there is no respite. We are climbing for about 7 to 8 hours just straight up. So it's like 10 Namche Bazaars at one shot, or 10 Tengboche monasteries at one shot. Because, an average Namche Bazaar climb can take up to an hour, hour and a half. But here it's all uphill, because we are going from 4,900 to 5,900, and it's straight up. There are no flat sections, there are no downhill sections. So even when you're taking a break, you're standing on an incline. Is it technical? No, it's not technical. That way, it's quite simple, because you're just walking on your 2 feet. You don't need any special climbing equipment or ropes. So you're essentially just trekking up. But the gradient is hard. It's the night. One is not used to walking in the night. That also plays up. Of course, the temperatures are very cold. That also kind of adds as a factor. So yeah, these are things to remember when you're preparing for the climb. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Any more questions that we can help you with at this point?
How cold does it get in the nights? Like in the sleeping bags, do we need just thermals and the sleeping bag should be okay?
Yes, Rohit, absolutely. In fact, the first 2 to 3 days, you will even be okay with a regular T-shirt in the sleeping bag because
Got
the
it.
sleeping bags are actually equipped to handle the final camp also. First
Okay.
2 3 days, because you're much closer to the forest, it becomes quite warm in the sleeping bag.
Yeah.
It's the last 2 days, which is at Karanga and at Kosovo, possibly, is when you may have to use a thermal or a light jacket. Otherwise, the
Okay.
sleeping bags are good. Uh, Typically, you would need your down jackets in the evening at the campsite, but a good
Okay.
down jacket is good enough. You'll be able to manage the cold well.
Got it. Okay. Done. Thanks.
Sauraj, the calling cards and data cards will be able to buy from Arusha and will
Yes,
get good
Salil, that's a
network.
good question. So essentially, we recommend that you buy an Airtel. Like Tanzania also has Airtel as a network. So either you take international roaming or yes, you buy an Airtel SIM card from the market in Arusha. It's available at one or two places. When you exit the Kilimanjaro International Airport, please remember that there is a Vodafone counter out opposite the parking, but Vodafone doesn't really work very well on the mountain. So, it may just happen that you may just end up buying a Vodafone, but now that you know, avoid buying that Vodafone connection because Airtel works better. And in the market, there are one or two resellers. There is an Airtel showroom also where they have a tourist counter. So you just go pick up the SIM card, and within 2 to 3 hours, it's active. And then that's good for use. So, Salil, that can be picked up in Arusha after you land the next day or that day also, depending on what time are you landing.
Got it.
And
And
Sauraj,
Sundays, the market is on, right? Sorry, because some of the foreign countries, that's an issue. The Sundays, the markets are shut down. We will be in Arusha on a Sunday, so don't
Okay,
want to
I'll check
be,
on that.
yeah,
I'll
we
check
don't
on
want a
that.
scenario
Otherwise, even
that
if the
some
market
of
is
these
closed,
schemes are
there are
not available.
resellers as
Yeah.
well.
Okay.
Sorry. Please go ahead.
No. We don't want a scenario that we are banking on a Sunday out there and the markets are shut. That's the only reason.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. I'll just check on that.
and Sauraj, the currency that will be accepted there would be the US dollars. We don't have to convert into the Tanzanian local currency, right?
For tips to staff, US dollars, but
Okay.
for your 1.5 day there, which is some part of the fifth and some part of the sixth, the whole day rather, it's better to convert. Like they will not really accept US dollars in regular shops. Like you enter a coffee shop or you enter buy get into a shop to buy something small or big, um, but money exchange is available everywhere easily, so it's not an issue.
But later on, as we progress towards the close of the trek, could you give us an estimated budget on how much of both we should carry, like the US dollars and the Tanzanian?
So, Preeta, honestly, when you come in, if you convert about 50 or even $100, it's more than enough for that 1.5 day because you would have your meals that you'll have to pay for because the hotel is on a bed and breakfast plan. So essentially, let's say a dinner, whatever food you're getting. So $50 to $100 per head is enough for those meals, and that's the only thing you will be spending on. And then while you are on the mountain, you don't need any Tanzanian shillings at all because there's nothing on the mountain. Like there's no shops, nothing at all, right?
Yeah.
So that time you just carry US dollars for tips essentially. That's enough. But on the
Yeah.
mountain, you don't need any Tanzanian shillings.
And do you recommend that we eat at the hotel when we get there, or is it safe to eat out? Like, what do you recommend?
Both are fine, Rohit. Essentially,
Sweet.
Arusha that way is a safer town.
Hmm.
We still recommend that don't go out alone after 10 p.m. But if you're 2 people, 3 people, 4 people, and you're going out taking a cab, cabs are available just outside the hotel and back.
Hmm.
Then you can go to one or two restaurants. On the sixth evening, which is just the night before we have to leave for our trek, seventh in the morning, that evening we recommend that you come in back to the hotel by 7:38 so that you have enough time, you go to bed on time. So that day you can probably look at having your meal in the hotel. You can just pre-order in the hotel only whatever you want from the menu card. But otherwise, that way it's safe to go out. Like sixth, anyways, during the day, you would be out in the market to probably see around and get a SIM card and stuff like that.
And the food's good, or is it like?
It's okay, honestly. There is no speciality of sorts really in Tanzania or in Arusha, I would say. There are certain places you go and then you want to try out the local cuisine and
Yeah,
stuff
yeah,
like
that's
that.
kind of, yeah.
But here, not like there is nothing special or exclusive or exciting for which one has to go out to try something. It's just
Okay.
regular coffee shops, pizza places, and nothing very exclusive, I would say, to Arusha.
Got it, got it, got it. Okay, done. Thanks so much.
Going back to the phone connections, the network. So you said that Airtel, you do get network in the mountains. So is it like through and through that you get the network?
So Nishit,
All
it's a little patchy, but what happens is that you end up getting network every day. So there
okay.
is no single day where there's dark spot. But one day, like for example, day one, when we reach the Machame camp, just giving you an example, we don't really get good network in the camp. But when you start walking first 10 minutes towards Shira, you start getting network on that patch. And then for 2 hours, you have network. Then at Shira camp itself, there's no network, but then there is this very nice rock ledge, which is like a sunset point, 5 minutes from the camp. There you get really good network, but not inside your tent. Similarly, on day three, you actually don't have network throughout the route. You have zero network, but the moment you reach the Boronco campsite in the evening, there you have good network. So every day in patches, somewhere or the other, you will be able to send out a message back home, or even clearly even make a call back home. But it may not be like a specific time every day. It's just in patches, but it's there every day.
So, Sauraj, regarding the sending message back home, I would request you to just post a message on the group so at least we know where you are, just in case Tanush is not able to connect with us.
No problem, Seema. I'll do that. Yes, we'll be connected every day.
Yeah, just
Should not be a problem.
every day, if you could just post a message in the group that, okay, we are good.
Yes, absolutely,
So, yeah.
Don't worry about that. Yeah.
And one
And
more
also,
thing, how much money should I plan to, how much USD should I plan to send with Tanush?
So Hemavant, I'll message you that separately as well. But I would say about 500 roughly. I would say, because we need to budget for about 350 for the tips,
Okay.
and then an additional 150 if he wants to pick up something in Arusha, or for the extra meals which are not included and stuff like that. So I would say about 500 or so
Sure.
is okay.
Sure.
And of course, nothing to worry. I will also be personally around. So if there's
Yeah.
anything that's required, we will be there. So it's really not a problem. But that much should be fine.
Sure. Thank you
and
so much.
also we'll need double power banks also, right? Because we don't have electricity over there for the phone charging and everything.
That's right, Preeta. That's absolutely right. We do recommend
Yeah.
that carry 2 power banks, because, there's absolutely zero
No
access to
electricity.
electricity. So even though you will, of course, you can keep your power banks on your phones inside your sleeping bag so that they keep warm. The batteries are not discharged very fast.
Mhm.
But yes, 2 good power banks is a recommended option, because you never know if, of course, you want to take like really nice pictures, and then if your phone's not working, then it's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thank you. I think this was a very helpful session. A lot of good questions as well. And
Just
the
one sec.
focus.
Power banks as
Yes,
in
Rohit.
20,000, like 10,000 each, 10,000 milliamp hours each, or like a higher capacity each?
Rohit, typically 2 of 10,000 each is okay.
Okay.
In my experience, 1 10,000 is okay to charge your phone maybe twice. And in the
Okay.
night, we anyways recommend that you switch off your phone. In the
Okay.
day, also, you keep your phone on airplane mode throughout.
Okay.
Wherever there is a network patch and you want to make a call, we'll tell you that, okay, next 2
Oh,
hours
got it,
there's
got it.
network. So you make a call, but mostly you tend to keep your phone on airplane mode to save on battery. So if you have a 20,000 mAh, then great, carry 1 20,000 and 1 10,000. Otherwise, I usually carry two
Okay.
10,000 mAh, and it suffices.
Okay, done. Thanks so much.
Okay, thank you everyone. If there are any more questions, we can be on the call for another 10 seconds, but do focus on the physical fitness preparation. Keep posting a lot of questions on the group. Pictures will be later. I hope everybody's got their yellow fever shot as well. you do need to carry your yellow fever vaccination certificate in original to Tanzania. It's a very important immigration requirement. When you land in Arusha or in Dar es Salaam, the first thing they ask you is not your passport, but your yellow fever shot. So carry it with you in person. That becomes a very important document to carry. And of course, we will be in touch on the WhatsApp group also.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Okay,
Sauraj.
thank you,
Thank you,
everybody.
Bob.
Thank you for this
Thank
time.
you.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Bye.
everyone.
Bye.